Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. This is episode 422 of Daily Global Insights, and joining me is my co-host Sridhar Chityalaji. Sridharji, Namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskar. Good morning to everybody.
Sridharji, a couple of big items and both of them involve China. Let's first talk about the ongoing G20 meeting in Itanagar, Arunachal Pradesh. China has stayed away from this meeting and all the other countries have attended it. Sridharji, why is this stupid petulance on part of China, sir? They don't want to play by the rules of that all the other countries play, and yet they want to do trade with the rest of the world?
Well, I think they not only want to do trade with the rest of the world, and they are one of the largest trading partners of India. They refuse to accept the fact that Itanagar or any part of Arunachal Pradesh belongs to India. They think it is still part of southern Tibet, so it is a contentious territory. Their presence there would, according to them, justify or cement that they are conceding the position that it belongs to India. This is contrary to every country which is there and every major nation which has basically said that all of the Northeast and even some of the border areas belongs to India unequivocally. So therefore, there's no question of the acceptance of rest of the world. It's just the Chinese brinkmanship, and they continue to give trouble. And they also don't want to accept, the status quo of what India has laid out.
If there is any better motivation than this for being Atmanirbhar, I can't think of it. I think India can do everything itself, and India needs to grow much more. They need to find employment for its growing population. Now is the time, guys. If you eat salt in your food, sorry to be so harsh, you will understand what I'm talking about. Let's move on to the next topic. Sridharji, across the world, Silicon Valley Bank. Silicon Valley Bank has had a connect with a Chinese bank, and looks like the funding from SVB has funded many Chinese tech companies. I mean, I understand SVB also has funded companies in India. So I'm trying to understand, sir, is that normal or is there something beyond what meets the eye?
I think the issue is it is quite normal, but what makes this quite unique is the contentious relationship that US and China has, and also the fears that some of the assets that SVB has, whether they are going to get the benefit of the payout that is coming from effectively banks. I won't use the word taxpayer at the end of the day from a US consumer, because if the banks are paying additional premium, then naturally they charge it back to the customers. Now, what we're talking about here is the joint venture between Silicon Valley Bank and Shanghai Pudong Development Bank Limited. It's called as SPD. Now, basically, this vehicle, the joint venture, the JV vehicle, has been used to fund. Obviously, capital has been allocated, and capital allocated from deposits raised within the United States has been allocated to fund the Chinese ecosystem of tech companies. Probably more than 2,000, at least 2,000 companies have been funded using the capital. When did this start? Lo and behold, they started probably around somewhere between 2010, 2012. I don't want to draw parallels before some people kind of dissent on us, but you can go back and see what exactly happened between 2008 and 2016. A number of parallelisms one can infer using that. Not only that, I think SVB has also used capital for this joint venture in places like Cayman Islands, and diverted that capital to fund the SVB joint venture, and in the process, the tech ecosystem. So raising questions, if China doesn't allow capital flows out of its country, how come it received capital from these, what we call as the tax havens, which are not within the jurisdiction of United States, of a US institution, and that went on to go on and fund the ecosystem. So this is being looked at, but I can guarantee you nothing will come out because it's already been sold to Republic National Bank.
And that sale amount is $75 billion, sir. What kind of a haircut is SVB taking?
SVB, I think that the haircut that SVB is taking no haircut. What's happened is this now belongs to FDIC, because technically the bank is bankrupt. So FDIC is holding on to, they have sold $60 billion worth of assets at something close to 23-25% discount. So the First Republic is getting a pretty good deal. They've also got a backstop on some of the losses. And FDIC is holding close to $75 billion of assets under receivership, which they have to get rid of. Now, the question that is being raised is, why did they preempt all this, which effectively, end of the day, is going to cost FDIC close to $20 billion, where if they had allowed this institution to collapse, then the cost of the recovery or sale or allocating this institution to, or selling this institution to someone else would have only cost FDIC, for the estimates that has been done, is $5 billion as opposed to 20. So there seems to be a lot of political connotations and other kinds of things that seems to be behind the preemptive actions that Fed and the Treasury have taken, Sriji.
And I keep hearing that from the United States as well as from Europe that the banks are stable. Sir, why is this being continuously reiterated? What are we missing, sir?
Firstly, there are two separate data points. I think both evolve to the same theme, which is namely banks are stable. Firstly, coming to United States, what has happened is, there has been a significant flow of deposits back into large banks. Roughly, there's about $16 trillion of deposits sitting between large banks and small banks, and of which about $10.5 trillion is sitting with the big banks, and then about $5.5 trillion is sitting with the regional banks or smaller banks. Now, close to $100 billion or $110 billion flew into the larger banks, raising the spectacle, which is we don't want to have too big to fail issue come up because there's a concentration of deposits in larger institutions. So everybody is raising the flag. Don't worry, too big to fail will not happen, and the big banks have got adequate capital adequacy, and especially in the tier 1 capital, so that we are good. We are stable, so therefore we are fine. And the Treasury is also saying we have we have monetary tools available, as well as the fiduciary tools available to address any kind of deposit flight issue that is likely to come out without actually needing for any kind of bank bailout. Now, people are not buying into it. Why? Because there is a significant amount of deposits that are in uninsured category. The question that is being asked out of the 16 trillion, when we know that only FDIC insured deposits are protected and covered under for which the banks pay an insurance premium, why are we covering all these deposits, and what is the rationale? Again, this is the reason why the Treasury and Fed are raising their kind of crescendo to say we are stable, we'll protect, we are stable, we will protect. This is the issue with regard to United States. As far as the Europe is concerned, what happened is there was an attempted runoff on Deutsche Bank and some of the institutions which we talked about. And why did this happen? There is a capital called AT1, alternate tier 1 capital. Alternate tier 1 capital is capital provisioned when banks raise debt through bonds in the market, and they have to make a provision for this in the event the bank is unable to repay, which is why they take this credit default swap or credit default insurance and to cover themselves. What happened in the case of Credit Suisse is when they sold it to UBS, the entire AT1 was wiped out. So the bondholders were told, notwithstanding the fact Credit Suisse said it took credit default swap insurance, they were told, sorry, it is sale and your deposits are wiped out. You're not going to get a penny. Close to $16 billion got wiped out. So this cascaded into, they looked at all the banks and said, oh my God, all these banks have AT1 capital. What's going to happen if there is a problem? Or is our capital going to get wiped out? So the bond market people have raised an issue. So all the guys, especially German Chancellor and the French president, have come out and basically said, no, our banks are stable. Don't worry about AT1. We'll take care of it. This is the reason, Sriji.
Thank you so much, Sridharji. And I want to now touch upon a surprise news item that has cropped up today. Scotland has a new prime minister, and his name is Humza Yousuf. And the first thing he does is call for Scottish independence. Sir, I have a friend from Scotland, a Scottish American friend of mine, and according to him, the whole world revolves on its axis because of Scottish entrepreneurs. Justifiably, some he'll claim names like Alistair MacLean being a Scotsman and so on and so forth. The point I'm asking you, sir, is a little bit about who this person is. And Scotland has been asking for independence for a long time. Again, Rishi Sunak has shot it down. What are the significance? What is the significance of this?
Well, I think first and foremost is it's the first time an immigrant has become a non-white immigrant has become a prime minister elect of Scotland. He still has to go through the process, but I think he's almost certain to emerge as the prime ministerial candidate. That's number one. Number two, you asked who he is. I mean, he is. His parents hail from Pakistan. His father hails from Pakistan. I think his wife, his mother is of African origin or from Africa. And so therefore, this is the first Muslim prime minister in Europe, and the first immigrant, a non-white immigrant to take up prime ministership of an important nation, most notably the United Kingdom. Now, obviously, he comes from the SNP, and which has been striving for independence. There are two types of Scots: one who are traditional and who are, historically been part. They would not ask for. They said that the country is too small. They have to be part of the broader United Kingdom. Then you have the more young entrepreneurial and trying to say we have to fight for our own rights, and we don't want to be dependent and being told. So this is the generation that you are alluding to, which says that, we need independence, Sriji. But this is a momentous event where you have a Pakistani historical origin parent-child has risen through the ranks and has become become the Prime Minister of Scotland.
Another day, another shooting in the United States. About Nashville. The Nashville shooter is a transgender. And if you've been following United States politics, many politicians who are running for president have weighed in on this. Sridharji, what was the crux of the problem? Why did this person start shooting away, sir?
Well, I think that this person, 28-year-old Audrey Hale, she's now she's when she was shot, she. I don't know whether she was a he. When she attended the school earlier, she's 28 years old. She was 28 years old. She has attended this school, which is a Christian faith school. What exactly are the issues that clearly has impacted her, which prompted her to not only become a transgender female, but to come in? She knows, she has combed the area. She has got maps. She's got weapons. She came in and took out, she knew roughly the peak time when there would be students and teachers. She took out 3 teachers and I think 3 kids. This is the information so far, and they're doing more investigation. I think we'll get to know the truth, but clearly there's something which is much more problematic. We will discover rather than the kind of a routine issue that usually is uncovered when you have incidents like this.
Thank you, sir. And now let's take a look at what is happening in the Congress. The GOP-controlled Congress has now said that it will reveal documents that will state clearly that the diplomats advised Blinken against moving out of Afghanistan. And South Korean, I think it's the president, will be doing a joint address. A joint chambers address with an eye on China. So 2 topics slightly disconnected, but at the same time, it involves U.S. interests abroad.
Well, one of the contentious issues has been Afghan withdrawal, which we covered quite extensively during that period of time, because it looked very amateurish in terms of what transpired during that period. Now, more truth is coming out. It was a Democratic-held House and Senate, so therefore we didn't get to the discovery part. Now, House have found out, the Republican-held House has found out that they have access to information and cables from the diplomats in Afghanistan, which warned and which advised against withdrawal and told Mr. Blinken to advise Mr. Biden, the president, not to do the withdrawal. But contrary, now this withdrawal occurred, and the mess that was created in Afghanistan during that withdrawal and post that withdrawal. So they want to get behind it and say how many more documents are hidden under the cabinets and under the cupboards, and what exactly is the rationale and who made this decision happen. I think we have time and again, right from the time the Biden administration came to power, we have stated that there seems to be an invisible hand, and we get a lot of surprises, which has prompted the question that is Biden in charge of the White House, or is he in control of the agenda? So this is what they want to get to, Shriji, in terms of Afghan issue.
Thank you so much, sir. TikTok, is it going to be banned in the United States or not? Now, even some strange partners are coming in and telling that TikTok should not be banned, that the youth will get ticked off with, sorry for the choice of words, ticked off with the Democrats for having turned TikTok off from them. 150 million subscribers in the United States. Sir. That means 1 in 2 people have a TikTok account. You and I probably are the outliers here.
Indeed, I don't have a TikTok account. I don't have a
Me
Pinterest
neither.
account.
Yeah.
So very good. So I think that there are 3 strands of truth that are coming out. First is that this enormous number of users that make up the base. That's number one. Number two, I think that the TikTok parent company in China, which is part of the CCP, appears to have given what we call as the advocacy money to the Hispanic caucus. Lo and behold, within the Hispanic caucus is AOC. And she's the first one who went on Twitter and said she supports TikTok and she is against the agenda because a lot of her constituents will be impacted and she doesn't believe it's a security issue. So therefore, this is her kind of a position. And immediately people discovered that her caucus has received funding. So it's natural there will be no objectivity in her recommendations. So there's more than meets the eye with regard to TikTok. Is it going to be banned? I don't think it's going to be banned. I think what's going to happen is they will scurry around the issue and they will come up with a skirt around the issue and they'll come up, it's causing data, it's got national security issues. So let's kind of take care and see how we can address it. But guys, already the data has gone. China has data of all the young people. It is a great way by which they can run their campaign using this platform.
See, the bigger fear I have, or a bigger concern that I have, Sridharji, is the youth that is coming out of the schools and high schools and colleges. And they're all solidly this kind of a woke. AOC is a youth icon for them, sir. And anytime we show some of these, grave concerns about her, they just say, oh, you don't like her. So there is no attempt on the part of the people who are being told the opposite of what they believe in to try and say, let me take a little bit more of a deeper look into it. Everybody seems to be in a silo and they just keep amplifying each other in an echo chamber. This is not good for the society. So the first thing, in my opinion, that the Republicans need to do is to get down to the ground level, basics. What is schooling? What is parenting? All these things have to be looked at. Family also. I don't know how much Republican Party is looking at it because I'm afraid this is a one-way street, sir.
Indeed, I think there's one. I'll jump ahead here. There's a House legislation that was passed, which is completely along the party lines, 218 or 213 to 208. This is around giving control back to the parents, parental controls to the parents. The parents discovered during, lo and behold, they discovered during the COVID, by virtue of online education, the type of content and the type of propaganda that the kids were being subjected to. So when kids were asked the question, this is critical race theory, this is around transgender, this is around wokeism, this is around discrimination, this is around slavery, so on and so forth. A number of topics, including some explicit content. So the kids were, when the parents asked the kids started to cry. So many of these issues came to surface, and when the House got changed hands, so they passed, and they expected at least some Democrats to vote to say that the control of what is taught to the kids to some extent or to a great extent should rest with parents, and parents should not be kept blindsided by what is happening in the school, which was opposed by the Democratic Party. This puts in perspective the questions that you have raised, which is clearly that there are two schools of thought. The parents have no role, and the parents have an important role. Shriji.
Thank you, sir. Let's move on because I have a lot to say about this topic, but it will kind of divert away from our main news items. The next item is Russia is going to be stationing tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus, and it draws ire from the West. Putin says Russia and China are not creating a military alliance. Russia's attempts at a UN inquiry to investigate Nord Stream blast falters. Zelensky accuses Russia of holding Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant hostage, and Russia dismisses the challenger claims. All these things, today or yesterday I read, Nord Stream, around the area where the pipe broke, there were 5 Russian ships that passed by or in that vicinity also. So who did it, sir?
As per the independent, again we cover it, as per the independent investigation conducted by Germans, the Finns and the Swedish, it doesn't point to that Russian involvement. It points to something else. What that is, they have not revealed. But at least they went public, which is to say, no, we didn't see any Russian involvement in this sabotage. It could have been Russian sympathizers, or it could have been some Ukrainian right-wing who could have done this. But they have not presented very clear evidence in terms of who was responsible. Unless they go deeper, or they already have the data, which they don't want. Now, you can see using the veto power, they successfully thwarted or stalled in United Nations any inquiry or any investigation. So, Shriji, I think to me, this looks like a sabotage which was inflicted quite deliberately. We can speculate, but we would rather wait for more data to come out or no data to come out, Shriji.
And now on India news. The landlocked northeast of India may soon get a trade gateway through a Malabari deep sea port in Bangladesh being constructed by Japan. Strategic initiative in the context of Indo-Pacific open and free trade policy efforts of India and Japan. So the recent visit by the Japanese Prime Minister to India, it appears to have been a huge success. The ties between the two countries seem to have been further cemented, Sridharji?
It is. I think it's called Matarbari Port in Bangladesh, and where they have put significant amount of investment, billions and billions of yen, which translates into billions of dollars as well. That port is being developed, and I think what India is saying is that we'll work with you. They're going to have a huge container terminal in Nicobar and connect the entire kind of the Bay of Bengal, the circle of Bay of Bengal, going from all the way from Bangladesh into Kolkata, around the northeast, down around the east coast of India, going around Sri Lanka and into South China Sea, and then going back into Southeast Asia. So it would be a significant development. It probably serves close to 3 billion people, in terms of the needs. So it's a very important cogwheel in supply chain from the perspective of movement of a large amount of food and other types of items through this. So what Mr. Kishida has stated is we can work together, that is Bangladesh, India, and Japan, to build this as part of the Indo-Pacific strategy. Remember, we discussed about Japan and India taking a leadership role. This is an instance that is now coming out, reflecting the sentiments that we kind of expressed from an investment as well as developing an independent thinking process around the supply chains as an adjacent to Indo-Pacific strategy.
Shanghai Cooperation Organization. India is a member of this, but every time there is an SCO meeting, India doesn't stay away from that, sir. What is happening on the next meeting? I think it's going to be hosted in India.
It is going to be hosted in India in May. I think there's 8 nations: China, Russia, Pakistan, then India, then Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and one more. So about 8 countries. They broadly discussed, this was brought together as to integrate South Asia, Central Asia, with obviously China and further the Asiatic Russia, to bring all these groups together. It was created as a Shanghai Cooperation Organization. It's also a way to blunt the Western alliance or the Western influence. So they're going to have meetings of what you call the national security advisors. They're going to have foreign ministers. They're going to have trade ministers. Now, and then before the heads meet. Now, India has taken a position: I will rather remain in the tent rather than try to be outside the tent and trying to, get some action going. So India has partnership with Russia. India has partnership with some of the Central Asian countries. In fact, all of the Central Asian countries, the 4 of them there. So it is, I think, trying to keep the agenda moving. Why is it important? It is important because Russia and China today stand isolated in the world in terms of the geopolitics. Now, this meeting is being held in Delhi, and it is being under the chairmanship of India, and India simultaneously has the chairmanship of G20. So it acquires significance as to how this meeting is going, how the meeting is going to be shaped, and what is going to come out as a result of this meeting, Sriji.
Thank you so much, sir. And now let's take a look at Asia news. Russia fires a supersonic missile at a mock target in the Sea of Japan. Chinese new Prime Minister Li Qiang tells foreign business executives that country will be open, including to the Apple CEO, Mr. Tim Cook. How is the COVID situation in China now, Sridharji? We can wrap this and then we can take a few questions, sir.
The COVID situation seems to be stabilized. The most important is the 2 important incidents which I want to touch on. One is now North Korea has revealed that what they launched from their drone was tactical nuclear weapon, and they've shown their warheads. And then what does Russia do? Russia launched from Sea of Japan a supersonic missile. Remember, the northern part of the Japan's island is contested by the Russians. The southern part, which includes Senkaku and others, south of Okinawa, is contested by the Russians, by the Chinese. So it's very significant that the Russians have launched, and simultaneously the North Koreans did something similar.
We seem to have momentarily lost Sridharji. I don't know if also have missed him.
Are you here? Can you hear me?
While we try and get him back, a request to all of you to like our channel, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Sir, go ahead, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
No, I just was, I don't know where I lost. The COVID situation seems to be normal. So they have hosted this meeting. It was attended by a number of business leaders, including Tim Cook was at the meeting, effectively Li Qiang saying that we are open and please come and embrace yourself and adopt. This is very significant because, if you remember Pegatron, which has already shifted to India, the first factory is contemplating the second. So it's very important within that context that they are trying to stem the tide in terms of the outflow of the industry. So this is the objective of this meeting, and there were a number of US business leaders present as well, along with other business leaders. As far as the Russian situation is concerned, we know that both Russia and China is contesting islands north and south of Japan. And it's interesting that Russia has opened a corridor, launching the supersonic missile. Simultaneously, the North Koreans, while North Koreans have been firing away their various, long-range missiles, short-range missiles, ballistic missiles, now, of course, tactical weapons with tactical nuclear head, Sriji. So very hot potato in terms of what's happening in Asia, while China says, I'm back to normal.
Let's take a few questions, sir, and if we could, have like 1 minute per question, that'll be awesome. Karthik Vishwanathan wants to know, what is Shou Chew testification in House Congress leading to? There's a fear of losing under 35 votes forever by Biden discrimination. Will he dare banning? I think Shou Chew is what? Is it TikTok?
The CEO of TikTok.
TikTok, right. So you don't think it's going to be banned, right?
Well, I think all the statements that are coming out from either side, Republicans and Democrats, point to the fact that they're trying to work to a compromise which addresses the two important areas, the data privacy as well as the national security. And if they feel that they can come in with a legislation which addresses these two, an outright ban is not warranted. So obviously, this is because there's a significant amount of advocacy and activist groups from China, which feeds into either side of the fence, Republicans and Democrats. So what's going to happen is a watered down solution. And as we start, when we started the show, we mentioned that probably the Chinese already have the data, Sriji, in terms of these 150 million users. So it's a great platform for them to push their barrel.
Next question, please. Partha wants to know, why is US launching airstrikes in Syria? Is Syria helping Russia on the battlefield?
No, the attacks are being launched basically because there's the Iranian surrogates, Hezbollah and other Republican Guard surrogates operating out of Syria are firing at the positions northern Syria where US has still bases near the oil field, and they also provide the protective cover. So the goal is they want to have a direct confrontation with Israel. They do not want to have any US presence in that region. So this is the reason why we also covered that Israel has been progressively targeting. They targeted Aleppo, they targeted Damascus, they targeted Latika, all targets where you have this Iranian surrogates operating and then making their way into Lebanon and West Bank. So this is the reason why US and most of these attacks are drone attacks. So therefore, I think what they're saying is that we have to take these out so that we can continue to be the protective barrier of these important oil fields.
Next question, please. Do you think that India should not rely on US to tackle China, but rather handle China by itself? The Five Eyes are capable of playing against India and are unreliable. For example, Khalistan attack.
No, India is not relying on United States. India has built its own strength and capabilities. Now, two major incidents that has occurred, be it in Doklam or be it in Galwan, and also in the Tawang, United States did provide support and data to India, which helped India to tackle the issue. I don't know. I mean, the Khalistan is a completely different issue, but to give you the answer, India is not reliant. India is building its own infrastructure and capabilities to tackle on their own, but they're more than happy to receive any assistance and aid that can come from United States, which helps them to potentially thwart any incursion.
Raghunandan wants to know, any news on Shakti processor, which is an in-house developed processor by IIT Madras? Sridharji?
I don't have an answer, G. I don't know. I don't have an answer. Sorry on this question.
We will try and get you some information. In fact, we have some contacts in IIT Madras. It's just that we've been trying to get some of them to come on our platform to air their ideas and things like that. It's just a matter of coordination. So stay tuned. You will get something. Last question, sir. Mr. Lee wants to know, were the bank collapses orchestrated by certain Chinese depositors strategically making large withdrawals?
The bank collapse was orchestrated by about 2 to 3 large venture capital funds pulling out the money. And one day, that was the Thursday, close to $48 billion of deposits left the Silicon Valley Bank. That's the first answer. The second answer is that right now there are enough revelations that are coming out. This will be part of the inquiry of SEC and the Department of Justice, that the regulators were warned time and again that there was a systemic problem in the way the bond trades were conducted and the exposure cost as a result of rapid rise in interest rates, including couple couple or few of the Fed governors of San Francisco Fed. Now, I'm only speculating, is this because there was an woke agenda and they decided to turn a blind eye? This is regulators we are talking about, and the data coming from internal staff that there was a problem. Now, my only conclusion, I'm not suggesting that this is the case, that the same people could have also warned of some of these venture capital funds, because it's a very collaborative ecosystem, as Sriji can vouch for, validate, that, hey, there's a problem. If you have a deposit, take it out. So that prompted people to say this is going downhill very fast in terms of their exposure. So they took the money. And I don't see any Chinese hand. I have seen that the China was very much supported, the Chinese tech ecosystem was very much supported by capital drawn or capital provided from SVB.
Thank you very much, Sridharji. And that brings us to our last question here. This is the last question. We will not take any more questions. Mr. Lee wants to know, can we expect a renewed push for Scottish independence?
Well, we have a new prime minister who has basically said we need to have a referendum. Mr. Rishi Sunak can say, "Oh, I don't accept it," but they'll go ahead. They've got the what you call the political franchise or political capital.
Thank you very much, Sridharji. And as always, viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. I see some vitriol being shown by the way of comments. We try to keep our discussions to a more intellectual level. Those of you who are trying to, get a response from us, keep trying. Thank you very much, Sridharji. We'll be back again on Thursday, bright and early, to give you more news. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.